In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create your own shortcodes. Now, we've seen shortcodes used in WordPress within the text editor, and they're a great way for users to make use of PHP functions without having to know any code or anything at all. And you can make these functions do absolutely anything. You could enclose text with special CSS. You could bring up a list of posts, for example, or you could even create a PayPal button. But you do all this behind the scenes for your client. All they do is enter the shortcode. And here's a sample of a shortcode, enclosed in square brackets. Very, very simple. Now, more complicated shortcodes will actually take some attributes, and we're going to see how to do that as well. And then another way shortcodes are used is to enclose some text. So you have an opening shortcode, and then just like HTML, you use the slash and the ending shortcode, the closing shortcode. All right, how easy is it to create? Well, there's only two steps, all done in your functions.php file. First step is to create a PHP function. And here's a very simple one that I've called my shortcode. And all it does is spit out this sentence. This is my shortcode. Our second step is to hook this into WordPress. We use the add shortcode function. Now, this is the name that you're actually going to use, your client's actually going to use as a shortcode. And then you tell it where to look for the function, namely this one that you just created up here. And that all goes into functions.php. So let's take a look at how this is going to work. I've got a post here, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit it. And I'm going to put in, all I have to do is put in my SC, like that. I hit update. When I go back over to here and refresh, there is my shortcode. Remember that sentence we created? That's how it appears. Very, very simple to use. Now let's do something a little more complicated because that's a bit too simple. Most of the time what you're going to want is some attributes probably. So that's how you do it here. You create two parameters, ATTS, attributes, and then content. Now, in this case, what we're doing here is we're extracting the attributes. And in case the client doesn't use any attributes, we're going to give them some defaults. So in this case, we're going to give the default name George. All right? So then when we return the sentence, my name is, we just insert the name variable in here. As I say, if I don't do anything, it'll say George, but I can also enter a name, and we'll see how that works. So again, that's the code that they're going to use, the short code they're going to use, and here is the function that you've created. So now we've hooked it into WordPress. Let's see how this all works. We'll go back over to here, and now we're going to change this to my name. And we do our update, and we go back to here and refresh it. And now it says this is my name. My name is George. Remember, I didn't do anything to it, and if I go over here and I say instead that name is going to equal Billy Wilder, my favorite directors, there we go, we update that, and we hit refresh, and now the client has been able to change what goes on by changing one of the parameters. All right, very, very simple to do, but not terribly useful. So let's take a look at something very interesting here, which would be allowing your client to put some text into a floating box without them having to know any CSS, without you having to do anything for them. All right, we're creating our function first of all. There it is. And now we're giving it some attributes, some default attributes. We're going to align it to the right by default, 150 pixels wide, 1 pix border, and a 4 pix padding. And we stuff all of those into our return here, so there's our alignment. I'm using the typical WordPress align center, align left, and I'm simply putting on the ending there, align right in this case, tell it what width, and so on. So these are all done here, padding. Now content is very important. This one right here is crucial because it's what's going to put in whatever the client puts between the shortcodes. Remember the opening and closing shortcodes? The text is going to go in as content. And then we simply add the shortcode name and the function. All right, we've got it all, so let's go back and see how this is going to work. Let's get rid of this down here. Now we want this box to float to the right, so I'm going to put the text up top here, WD box, and I hit update, and I go over to here, and now we've got our box right here floating over to the right. Now, of course, you could do anything in here. You could give it a special class. You could have already done some CSS for it. I did a lot of inline stuff here. You could do even more with your own styles. You could even allow them to choose between two different classes, and all they're doing here in the parameter is entering the classes. So let's take a quick look again at how this works with the parameters, because this is where it gets really exciting. Is I could say, well, I want my width to equal 250 instead, and I'm going to do border thickness equals 6. Let's do that. And so now when I do my update, we have changed the parameters of the box. It's wider with a thicker line. So there you have it, the power of shortcodes. Very, very easy for you to create, and you would simply give instructions to your client, produce a PDF for them with a list of shortcodes they can use and so forth. There are also ways to put shortcodes into the button bar, and we'll take a look at that in a separate video. That way your client simply has to click a button and they can do all these things as well. So shortcodes, a very powerful way to give your client a lot more control over their posts and pages.